What's up, dudes, and welcome back to the channel where I've got something pretty dang neat today. This is the Airforce Airguns Condor limited edition slug rifle. And you guys know me, I've had that Air Force tattoo on my arm there for about 20 years. I love Airforce Airguns. And this one is special because unlike the regular Condor, it actually has an unchoked Lothar-Walther barrel. The regular ones do have a Lothar-Walther barrel, but it's choked for pellets. So if you're unfamiliar with choked versus unchoked, on a pellet gun, basically a choke is a tightening of the barrel towards the end, and it's meant to sort of rein that skirt in and make it uniform as it exits the barrel. Really good for pellets, not the best for slugs. So for a slug barrel, you really want an unchoked barrel, and that's what this comes with. And then you've also got the 1/2x20 threading from the factory, so you can screw on your favorite moderator. This one comes from Jared Lowe, the NRL 22 homie. He sent that over for me to test. Not sure if he's selling them. If he is, I will put a link in the description and comments. I've also got this thing equipped with the Orcair Black Label scope, which is a full-featured FFP scope with a big old 56mm objective, and this is available for only like $300 on Amazon. Great deal. I'll drop links for everything in the description and comments, and please use those links. Use the Amazon links, because that's what's keeping the channel afloat, and I'm about to monetize this channel, and I would have already if it wasn't for the absolute Giga Chad who bought like 18K worth of IT switchgear last month, and that is going to power the channel for at least that last month and this month before I decide to monetize it. The way that works, get down there, click that Amazon link, and you can shop for whatever you want. As long as you click in that link, I'll get a little bit of credit, so thank you if you're doing that. But anyway, this thing is pretty sweet. So I mentioned the barrel, I mentioned the threading. It's also got a little bit more magic in it, which is this tank. This tank, instead of the typical 200 bar or 3000 PSI tanks you see on these Air Force rifles, this one actually has a 250 bar tank, which is about 3625 PSI. And I think there's some voodoo Texan magic in the valve, which allows it to open at those higher pressures, because I didn't really detect any changes in the hammer or anything. Could be wrong on that. But anyway, this thing can chuck a 40 grain slug at about 1040 FPS, which is about 100 foot-pounds in 22. Now, my model here is in 22. Big thank you to Air Force for sending this out. The 25 cal probably can do over 100 foot-pounds. If you want one of these rifles, you better get one fast, because they're limited edition. They're not making a ton of them. You can check out High Pressure Pneumatics. If they don't have it on the website, always give them a call. Or you can go to Airforce Airguns directly and see if they have any in stock. Additionally, they do have a limited run of these barrels, these unchoked Lothar-Walther barrels that you can potentially still grab. So I wanted to bring you some content on this because it did just come out this summer. So with that said, I'll show you some power on this thing. We'll head down to my Vevor shooting shack and give it a little run. Oh, and before we do, check out what I immediately just got when I walked up to the property. One shot, headshot, boom, you done, son. Let's go shoot. Okay, let's see what this thing can do in terms of power. I've got the FX True Ballistics chronograph up here, and it is programmed for 40 grains in there, so we'll be able to see not only the velocity, but also the foot-pounds over there. And I've got this thing slightly overfilled, so let's see how much power it can make. Also, I'm leaving it at the factory setting, which isn't all the way goosed up. Instead of being at like 12.5, 13, which is the max, it's sitting right at 11 or so. So we're just going to leave it at that and give it some test shots here. And if you'll excuse my absolutely messy shooting shack, we've got the Gen 2 40 grain javelins in 217. And that is basically the only 40 grain slugs I have to test. Of course, with any air gun, you're going to have to try to find what it likes. Today, this is our only choice, so not sure if it really likes these, but we're going to find out. And mostly we're looking to see what kind of power we can get. So let's do it. Okay, so I've got my target down there at 50 yards, and we're going to start chucking some of these random javelin slugs down there and see what kind of power we get. And we'll see what kind of group we get afterwards here. But, all right, I'm going to lock on to that target, make sure I get my scope leveled. All right, so that one was 1003 FPS, probably because we've got the tank a little bit overfilled. And that's right at 89.3 foot-pounds. So we will go ahead and take a few more here. All right, that was 1036 FPS for 95.4 foot-pounds. And this thing isn't even cranked to the max. So that is pretty amazing for a 22. I have some 30 cals right now, and probably the most powerful one is my Panthera Hunter Compact, which is tuned for about 90 foot-pounds. So this is beating my 30 cal, and it's in 22. All right, that was 1047 FPS for 97.4 foot-pounds. Pretty dang powerful. That was shot 3. And this thing's kind of like the 22 version of a Texan. So you're only going to get at that high power, like maybe 5 or 6 shots, but we'll take a look here. Now that one I kind of shot hastily and shot way high. Oh, that felt powerful. 1035, 95 foot-pounds. So that thing is spitting. This is definitely enough power to take coyotes with, for certain. All right, so we're dropping a little bit of power now. 1011 for 90.9 foot-pounds. And let's just take one more and see what we can get here. All right, 997 for 88 foot-pounds. And just because I like shooting, one more, just one more. And then we'll take a look at the stats, even though I'm going to skew the stats a little bit with this shot because it's going to go down. Okay, lost quite a bit of velocity there. So 984 for 86 foot-pounds. And let's take a look at the stats. All right, so we had 7 shots. Standard deviation of about 22 FPS. Really good BC on those slugs, man. And then we've got the high 1047 FPS, average 1016, low 983. So if you just take like the first couple of shots, obviously that standard deviation is going to go way down, and our averages are going to look a lot better, and the spread's going to go way down. But that is pretty dang impressive for a 22 caliber air gun. So next, what I think I'll do as a little treat is I'm going to fill this thing back up, and we're going to see if we can land some shots on my 4-inch plate out there at 150 yards. All right, so here's my target at 50 yards. Now, I probably should have been going for accuracy, but I was kind of just dumping them to get power, so I wasn't really stabilizing up. But even doing so, other than that one and that one, like definitely hunting accuracy. So now what we'll do is we'll see if I can hit that little white steel plate. It's 4 inches at 150 yards. All right, boys. So we are going to try to hit in the wind that little 4-inch white plate at 150 yards. And again, I have not done really much testing with these slugs. They shot kind of okay, I guess. Maybe if I had have stabilized up, they would have been a little bit better, but my ballistic app is telling me about 4 milliradians, and I have not validated any of this, so we are going to find out, can we hit that? Nope. But that was 1059 FPS. I might have sailed right over the top of it, so that was 99.6 foot-pounds. All right. .1032, nope. I'm going to try holding a little higher. I think it might be about like 4.5. Smoked it. Okay, so I think my app was a little bit wrong, but definitely the gun can handle it. So that was 90 foot-pounds, 10,007 FPS. Let's try to also hold about 4.5. Smashing it. And I hope you guys could see that, because that was absolutely hammering it. So now we're down to 994 FPS. Took me a couple shots to kind of find where it was hitting. So we're going to be a little bit lower velocity now. So let's see, maybe I'll hold like closer to 5. Smoked it. Okay, so that was 967 FPS for 83 foot-pounds, and there you have it. This thing can definitely reach out if you know your dope and do a little bit of testing to make sure you know where you're shooting first. But hey, it only took me 2 shots, so not bad. All right, boys, so that's going to do it for the limited edition Airforce Airguns Condor Slug Gun in 22. Just incredible power out of this thing right out of the box, about 100 foot-pounds, and that wasn't even fully cranked up. The highest shot was 99.6 foot-pounds at a velocity of 1059 FPS, which is higher than they claim on the advertisement for it. But wanted to show you guys the power. Admittedly, I could have actually stabled up on the bench and shot a little bit better. Also, these Javelin slugs, not sure how the gun likes them. You got to sort of play around when you get a new gun, but that's all I had. I do have some Zahn Hyperline slugs, some Corbins, and some Alteros in 40 grain, all in 40 grain, but unfortunately they're not in the shed with me to test. But you guys did see it only took me 2 shots to kind of get my dope, and then the next 3 I was able to absolutely pound that 4-inch plate at 150 yards, and you guys saw the power on that. You also saw my shot string going down a little bit, and that is because these are unregulated. They do not have a regulator. However, Human Power Regulators sent me a M18 threaded reg, and I'm going to try that next on this thing. And maybe we won't push as heavy slugs, but I'm sure I can still get mega power out of this thing. So we'll dabble around with that. Now, these are limited edition, so they're a little bit hard to come by. You can call High Pressure Pneumatics or check their website. Usually if they don't have something in stock, they're more than happy to special order it for you. They are an Airforce dealer, so check out myhighpressureair.com. That's High Pressure Pneumatics. Or you can go to Airforce Direct to hopefully procure yourself one of these. And if you can't get the full gun, you may still be able to order just the barrel and put it in your existing Condor or Talon platform. So hopefully you guys thought the video was cool, and we will catch you on the next one. Peace.